Hello, comic book readers, and happy Halloween. Welcome to today's episode of Off the Rack. If it sounds a little weird, I understand. The only thing you should let us know in the chat right now is if you can't hear us.
If you can't hear anything.
If you can't hear anything.
Like at all. Like, not like if it's quiet, because we're at home.
We're at home right now because it's Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody who's watching live, or if you're watching this after the fact. We do appreciate you checking out the show, even when it's not live and the most fresh it could possibly be. But
So
we are at our home right now. We're actually in Tiffany's office. We are going to be available if there are any intrepid trick-or-treaters out there who might be interested in getting some treats.
Yeah.
Rather than tricks. The trick would be this, I guess, is that we're doing this, here instead of back at the studio.
I guess so. Yeah.
We
got full-size candy bars, and we have to give them away.
Come on, right?
So, excellent. We can be heard.
Good.
And I'm gonna try to be louder.
Okay.
To compensate.
Yes, for me being the loudest. I'm of course wearing my most Halloween shirt I could possibly wear. I've got a ghost on it. How could I be more Halloween-like? And you look the way you want to look all the time.
This is me.
This is you for real, but you dress like you do normally for the masses, like for the regular people.
That's right, for the day-to-day.
But I want to mention that this show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you want to help the show survive, want to let this channel continue, and have the option of us going to a studio at all, you can use Super Chats, ask a question or comment, read it here on the show, and we will make you part of the show forever.
Excellent.
So make sure to use the Super Chats and be part of the program.
That's right.
And keep the riffraff out. Make sure we don't have to get sponsorships from people like $20 boxes of cereal. So let's talk about some new comics that came out this week that we think that you should check out. And of course, don't forget at the end of this, we're going to be recommending comics that are coming out this week. That is to say, in literally 2 days, so tomorrow and Wednesday.
Yeah.
We should check out.
Although some people don't acknowledge tomorrow.
No, they don't.
Some people are just like, no.
A lot of comic book stores actually just go one of our local shops. We have two local shops, one that's more local than the other one. So the more local one, which is Dewey's Comic City in Dover, New Jersey, that one has the DC books behind the counter on Tuesdays. If you want a DC book,
you gotta ask.
I'll go get it for you.
You gotta know.
But if you, but at Zap Comics, that stuff's out.
Oh.
In Wayne, New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's tough, man. It's tough being a child of two comic book store parents. One that lives farther away. It might seem like we're showing preference, but we're not. It's just convenience, and we do apologize to our, stepdad out there in Wayne. But we do come back.
So true.
I got a lot of points there too. But yeah, so before we get started, I guess we should recap our experience. We went to Baltimore Comic-Con this past weekend.
Yes.
And if you're watching live and you did see us there, say hi, tag us in your posts on Instagram. But
some
we had a great
did.
time. They did.
I love that.
Me too. What was your takeaway from Baltimore?
Baltimore was back to what it was in the past. Last year's was a little funny. They were in a different area of the convention center, and it seems a little small. And so, if you went last year and you're like, I don't know what the big deal is about this con, this year was more what it normally is, and I really enjoyed it. I did hear a lot of folks saying they felt it was a little light.
I disagree. It felt good.
Yeah,
it felt right, is what it felt like. It honestly did. It felt like the show should feel. Honestly, the light should be the default, and I don't mean light in terms of light on income, but it should feel like you can navigate the hallways. You should be able to walk through the aisles.
Yes,
access everything you want to access. I think that's that should be the default for every con. If everyone who goes can access everything they want, then I think more money will be spent than if you were to try and cast the widest net and get the most amount of people possible. I'm sorry. I'm talking so much because we just recorded tomorrow morning's episode of Wake Up with ComicPop.
You did.
And so I'm kind of on a tear, and I recorded all that crap. But
that's fine.
New show, it's up here on this channel. We're still working on a thumbnail design, but we do have a beautiful icon for the audio downloadable version, which one day when Apple and Google approve the show will be available there. But right now it is available on Spotify. Wake Up with ComicPop.
Hey,
you can listen to it for your commute.
That's great.
The plan is it's going to be out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the intent.
Okay.
Is for you to wake up with Comic Pop. The show will
Twice a week.
Twice a week. You're going to drop. You're going to get a show that is with you on your morning commute if you are commuting either early in the morning on the East Coast or incredibly early on the West Coast.
Yeah.
But the plan is the show will drop usually around like 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
No, it's not a live show.
It is not a live show.
Okay, because I definitely saw some folk being like, "Oh, I missed this," and it's like, "No, you didn't. No.
You missed nothing.
You're good. You're good. It
if you
just
heard
sounded live."
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what the show is. I mean, like, people who run into us and they're like, "Oh, you're just like the people we see on camera." And it's like, yeah, we're not like we do have theater backgrounds, but we're not like doing a theater show.
I'm quieter in person.
Yeah, you're like,
usually because this is the most extroverted I am.
This is true.
And so, like, usually when I'm out in the world, I'm just kind of like...
But I think it's helped.
And it's always weird.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, why do you want to talk to me? I'm nobody.
Right.
Like, that's my... Like, so if you ever run into me and I'm awkward, it's just because I'm awkward.
Yeah.
I don't seem awkward here because I'm in a little box right now.
Mm-hmm.
Feel safe in this little rectangle.
Well, there's no audio. You know, it's words as opposed to faces. You know?
Yeah.
Although we are seeing some faces. Like, we're seeing cats and, Batman and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a great time. I had a blast at Baltimore. I love that show.
There
I think, we've always talked about how Comic-Cons are great places to get cheap comics.
Mm-hmm.
We practiced what we preached.
Oh, did we?
At that show. Let me tell you. Normally, and it's funny because I felt like I was like, oh no, I'm leading people astray after New York Comic-Con.
Because New York Comic-Con was a bust for that. For us, we just didn't see a whole lot in terms of trades. I
saw what was it, like I saw 3 short boxes of trades that were $5 and they were shit.
I didn't even see those at New York, honestly.
It sucked. Ben found it. He was like, yeah, I found it. And I'm like, this is not what I'm talking about.
But he tried.
I know, and I feel bad, but I was like, this is not what I meant.
No.
This sucks. But at Baltimore, there were options. And I actually outlined it a lot more greater detail on Wake Up with Comic Pop tomorrow morning if you want to check it out. But I will say that I mentioned that there were half price trades, $5 trades, and $3 trades. And the $3 trades was like, oh no, because at that point, after the half price trades where they had like 4 different Marvel Epic collections, which are going to be out of print or are already out of print and are already like $45. They're going to go up to like $100 for no good reason whatsoever. We should get like Omar from his channel to talk more about like why those damn things are so expensive.
Right.
But they shouldn't be. Trade paperbacks should be disposable and cheap. That's why I always advocate for $5 trades.
Right.
But the half price trades, like we got what was it, Hulk versus Thor Banner of War, the event.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that shit on Amazon like 3 days, like like a week prior, and then I find it half price.
Half price.
Yep. And I'm like, I'm returning this crap to Amazon.
Eat at Amazon. The small shop wins somehow. I don't
That's
know
right.
That
eat
works.
at Amazon.
Okay, wait,
this is the benefit.
This is also part of the experience of having us do a show.
This is a little bit of a throwback to the olden days.
Yeah, on back issues.
On back issues, that's right. But yeah, man. So that was great, and we bought like I want to say it was. I say it's over almost $500. I want to say it's more like $500-600 worth of trades.
Yeah, we don't really know. We weren't really thinking about that. We were just thinking about how
I could crunch the numbers.
It ended up costing.
Yeah,
which was like. At the time, I was like, oh my gosh. But I was like, we didn't buy anything like that in New York. So
no. We bought like barely anything in New York.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't buy many collectibles at all, although you did. You got a little something at the at Baltimore this year in the form of this gargoyle here.
And look at him.
That was like one of the first things we saw like for retail, and you were like, I want that. Immediately, you were like, I want him.
I need this. I need this to live. And it was like, it was $20.
Yeah,
like
$20.
It was so not a commitment for me.
And it's funny to see QMX like out in the mainstream. I remember like when I was a huge Firefly Serenity fan, all I wanted was like merchandise associated with it. And QMX, Quantum Mechanics, was like, well, here it is.
Yeah.
You can get like the Malcolm Reynolds replica like gun. You can get these little Q figs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Q figs were made of like
resin.
Like they were like they felt like glass or porcelain.
Have one, yeah.
Yeah, we have
Kaylee.
one. We have Kaylee, but we don't have any of the other ones because they were like out of print.
Yeah.
But then they were like, oh, we can make them out of plastic and sell them at Hot Topic or FYE or wherever the hell.
I like them. It's like a really non-committal
Well, then they got like Marvel's license and everything like that.
Well,
like they're everywhere now.
But it's like, this is like, for me, I'm like, if you're like a person who's like, I'm not really into the collectible scene, but maybe I want to have like a little piece of fandom or flair or something like that, this is up your alley then, because like if something happens to it,
you better get another one.
You're not going to be too upset about it. That said, this is cute AF. There's like little cobblestones. It's just like the right amount of detail for this price point. I'm like, Also, I love the box. The box, it's a big box. You open the flap up. The interior flap says boxes are meant to be open. That box is like, hey, it's okay. Open it up, play with it, touch it.
That's true. And you can actually keep the box. You can keep the box, or you can just chuck it.
Put it back there.
Yeah, there he goes.
Yeah.
Baltimore was a good show. We wrote a ton of trades.
Yeah.
I have 2 stacks, and they're literally this is the stack, and then there's another identical stack. I will do a video of some kind, either on TikTok or Instagram or Shorts, or all 3 more likely, and they'll be on here to show you what we got from Baltimore Comic-Con. But it was a good show, and I recommend it.
Absolutely. No, I'm down for that. I did like a minor, little tiny Instagram live video, and because I don't normally do Instagram live, I didn't know to save it, and so that's lost forever. So if you were there, hey, we had fun.
Yeah.
We walked the floor together while Sal was going to the Frank Miller signing. So.
That was a whole ordeal, which we'll talk about in another show at another time.
So like we got a whole bunch more to do and talk about today.
So many comics,
comics.
So let's get started, and then we'll do some super chats, and we'll do more books.
Yeah.
Tiffany, what did you read this week that you think we should talk about?
Let me talk really quickly, just because it's the top of the show, and so like I'll throw an independent book out there, just because I've got you guys here. You're not leaving until you hear us talk about the books you're actually here for.
That's right.
So I'm going to talk about Damn Them All.
Yes.
Which I can't remember if I mentioned in my recommends last week, and if I didn't, I'm dumb. But this is a Cy Spurrier book.
Yes.
It's 2 issues. That's it. Like this is like one of 2.
I believe. 2 books?
2.
Well, how long is it?
This one's like 32 pages.
Okay, all right. So it's gonna be like a 64-page trade or something
like that.
By the way, heads up, we're using 2 different monitors than we normally do, so it's gonna look a little different than normally, but you don't care.
Sorry, she long.
You know that Tiffany has a vertical monitor.
Yeah, and that I also have the Amazon app, so enjoy all of my
your toolbars.
Yeah, so probably should have made that go away, but whatever. All I want to say about this book is, if you were like, man, I really loved Cy Spurrier's Hellblazer books,
here it is.
This isn't it, because it's about a totally different character. But it gives you that vibe, and it's obviously by Boom Studios, so it has nothing to do with the DC universe at all. But if you missed like Cy Spurrier's take on magic, Cy Spurrier's writing style,
maybe a bastard.
Yeah, something like that, but just in a different sort of iteration. I'm telling you, go grab this.
All.
Don't sleep on Damn Them All. Go grab it, enjoy it, because I fell right back into it, and just kind of felt like I missed his writing.
Oh yeah,
so much because of it. And while I'm here talking about independence, I have to talk about Image number 7. Hey, if you got a physical copy,
good for you. You're
one of the blessed ones. Give it to me. No, I'm kidding. Keep it for
Don't
yourself.
Send us like 10 copies.
Do not. That is yours. Treasure it. Hang on to it. This is where Witches came back.
Yes, and that's why it's funny, actually, really quick, just as an aside. I went to our friendly local comic book store to pick up Image number 7. They didn't have it.
No.
And in fact, nobody had it. And the reason they didn't have it is because it sold so horribly, that is to say issues 1 through 6, that they went to like special order. A lot of comic shops did special order for Image. Image. And so if they just held out 1 more issue, they would have actually sold some damn issues. But damn. And I think that was like a little bit of a sad indication as to like the nature of the current market.
Yes.
Like Image isn't selling well. I mean, like anthologies, right? Like, will they really sell? But they didn't even, like, retailers didn't even know to hold on or to skip. You know, be like, well, I'm going to do special order for like 5, 6, but 7 I'm going to pick up because it's Scott Snyder's Witches is coming back.
Now, it could also just be that this is an indicator, too, that Scott's put out a little too much. And so maybe Witches doesn't have the draw, or they weren't sure if it would have the draw.
Event.
But when we mentioned it to people, they were like, I didn't even know Witches was continuing in this. And it's like, yes, and it is literally continuing. This is a direct sequel to the first Witches. The Bad Egg that we got, that long one shot that we got several years ago, was a prequel.
Right.
And so this is the like, hey, we're moving on. I don't know if there will be more in the next image, or this is just supposed to like
whet your appetite,
placate us until Scott decides he wants to finish it up. I don't know. But if you pick up image number 7, you're not only going to get a story by Snyder, you're also going to get something by Kieran Gillen, by Tim Seeley, by Jeff Johns, Scott Young's in there. There's a lot going on in there with some great art as well. For me, I was there really just today to read Witches. It's literally 6 pages. That made me so sad.
Yeah.
The other thing that confused me slightly, now I didn't have my bad egg on hand, so I'm gonna have to wait till I'm at the studio to go and check it. But a character from the prequel, Bad Egg, shows up in this and says his name, and his last name is different. In the prequel, it was Sebastian Clay, and in this, it's Sebastian Craw. And I don't know if I just don't remember something at the end where it's like, actually, my last name is this, or like I'm from this family, or whatever. Or no one was paying attention. I honestly don't know. But I was like, dang.
Yeah. There's a noble tradition of screwing up the last name of a major character. I cite Peter Parker. We all know him as that, but in one of his earliest appearances, it was Peter Palmer for one panel.
Oops.
Stanley himself was just like, oops, I don't know. Peter Parker Palmer, who gives a shit?
Who's this guy?
Who even cares at this point?
Doesn't even matter. This guy, he's not going to last. He's not going to make it.
Yeah, but Scott Snyder also has done this before where like Nocterra, everyone's favorite new or independent franchise, that started as Nocturnal. And then found out there was another multimedia entity called Nocturnal that was going to be developed before it. So they went, and they just changed it. For the better, I think.
Yeah.
At the very least, just so it is its own thing.
Absolutely.
Like when you Google Nocterra, the only thing you're going to get is that, as opposed to Nocturnal, which is a little too generic.
Yeah, so I don't really know. But if you were like, I love witches, then you might want to grab this. I think it is like $6.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a hell of a time finding it in physical, so you may have to get it digitally. But like I said, it's 6 pages, but there's a whole bunch of other stories in there as well.
It's worth it.
For me, it was worth it because I was like, Sailor is back. Like literally Sailor from the first Witches is there, and immediately it made me sad all over again.
Oh,
just because of the ending of Witches.
Yeah.
Like I for a second fooled myself into thinking something different had happened to the end of Witches, and I was like, oh yeah, no. Oh yeah. So I honestly just wanted more than what we got in this, and I don't know if there's going to be more in the next issue. I'm going to need to look that up.
Yeah. Maybe we should pre-order the damn thing.
I might have to do that.
I'll have to find out.
Well,
what the next
I think
one
I'll
is.
need to see. Because Image does a pretty good job of letting you know who's being written up in there. So I will go and look that up.
Fair. What else we got?
What else we got? Indeed, I read Moon Knight, the annual number one.
Moon Knight,
this
annual
week.
number 1.
Yeah. So this is art by Jed McKay, art by Federico Sabatini. So this isn't the normal Cappuccio art, although it has that feel.
That's great because it gives Cappuccio more time to keep drawing the regular Moon Knight book, so there's no delays.
Right. However, if you weren't necessarily paying attention to who was drawing it, and when Moon Knight takes his mask off and he looks a little funny or weird, how you've seen it, it's just
that's why
it's just different. It's just a different artist. It's fine.
But look at that! Look at that synergy. Werewolf by Night, but that's okay because Moon Knight first appeared in Werewolf by Night.
So it all
Werewolf by Night first appeared in a Moon Knight book.
But it all comes back around. It's all
maybe it was the other way around. I'm sorry.
All that matters is it's cyclical, and Jack Russell is in this. But Jack Russell's got like a severe Aquaman look going on there, where he's like,
he's got like
pants.
tattoos.
Yeah, well, kind of. But he's got no shirt. He's swole, long hair.
Oh, okay.
Jack Russell's like, oh. I'm like, okay.
He doesn't look anything like that.
Well, he doesn't
in the show or
in this. He's having a rough time, man. Like,
doesn't sound rough to me.
His people, werewolves, are like the slave servants of Khonshu, and he wants to kill the god that slaves them. And I was like, that's actually kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, all right?
Servants of the moon, cursed, and then also like the moon god
the
is
moon.
like.
That's why they like change because of the moon.
He uses them as foot soldiers, and that like it technically like Moon Knight, the Fist of Khonshu, all of that are the like.
So is that like how Black Panther can control the dead? Moon Knight can command the werewolves?
No, Moon Knight cannot command the werewolves, but he is meant to keep them under thumb.
Okay. So
like Khonshu can command the werewolves, I guess.
I think it's more like he can transform the werewolves, but I would love to see Moon Knight be like, I command the werewolves! And you get like a horde of just furry, smelly, ceruly, screamy werewolves.
You want
That'd
that.
be a cool moment.
That's what you want in life. If only Jason Aaron could have put that into his Avengers.
Yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been
Admittedly
speaking, when Moon Knight was doing all that crazy stuff Moon Knight was doing, if he had sent out an army of werewolves, you've been like, okay,
like that's fun.
That's dumb,
cool,
but I'm here for it.
I agree.
So, oh my gosh, yes, we see everybody. in this, you're gonna get a like reminder that Moon Knight has a son, or is a son. Moon Knight has a daughter,
which I didn't know at all. I was like, what?
She's relatively okay. So like everything new. It's weird to think of things that are almost 5 years old at this point as new.
Right.
But that's still new.
No, I always think of that. I'm like, oh my God. Like, they just undid the marriage.
Yeah.
Like, that was over 10 years
but
ago.
But I would say, though, in terms of the fact that if you think about it, there's only 12 issues. If a series is ongoing for a year, there's only 12 issues coming out.
Right.
And if a series it doesn't have an ongoing and hasn't been around for a while, that's new.
Yes.
In my opinion, because it hasn't been used a whole lot.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So Marlene shows up in this.
Okay.
Needing some help because their daughter has been taken by Jack Russell.
She hasn't really played a role in this series.
Not at all. So she shows up, but she's like very standoffish. Mark's a problem. If you're near Mark, you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like
course.
Moon Knight can't be in our lives. Neither Moon Knight, Mark, Steven, Jack. None of them.
No.
You cannot be in our lives. Get out of here.
All right, Marlene, whatever. You used to facilitate the Moon Knightisms.
Well, now she doesn't. So there's drama going on with that. But really what it is that he's got to get his daughter back.
Right.
And I will attempt to say her name. I called her Diatrice.
Okay.
She picked her own name. I don't really know if that's how you say that.
The child did?
Yeah. Marlene.
How was that possible?
Marlene let her, like, she had a name, but she let her pick her own name.
So she was called something else, and then eventually she was like, "You're the age where you get to pick your own name." I think I picked the one I have.
She didn't. So anyway, that's not the point of this book.
All right.
Jack Russell has access to the Darkhold. He was able to read it and didn't make him go crazy. And they
did a whole miniseries about how that does that.
Right, but he should have been a part of that, actually.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, but they don't. They didn't know they were doing a show.
So Darkhold has like a prophecy in it that says like this is how you kill Khonshu.
Okay.
You gotta get the like kin of one of the like Fist of Khonshu.
Sure. So the daughter.
But that can't happen because the Fist of Khonshu tells Moon Knight like you can't have a kid. None of us can. We're not supposed to have a kid.
Okay. Right.
Like that's not allowed. Like the line.
Well, that way I'll die. Like if you did, I would be able to be killed.
Right. And the line is like we reap, we don't sow.
Okay.
I'm like, sure, whatever. He's like, okay, but the fact is, I do.
Right.
So this is a problem. Now the prophecy.
I sew all the time.
Yeah,
I'm sewing all over the place.
Sewing.
I'm about to sew.
Nope. We're not catching that on. No, don't do it. So the problem is that hey, this can now happen.
Right.
So we gotta figure.
So now we're doing this.
We gotta go and arrest.
I'm done talking about vampires. I want to do this now.
Well, vampires are still there. That's not. We got vampires.
Don't forget, they're an essential part of this.
Vampires. They're happening.
Mm-hmm.
The prophecy is that I think she has to die for this to work. But at the end of the day, Jack Russell can't do it, and like, Moon Knight's gonna fight Jack Russell. He tells Fist of Khonshu, "Go get my daughter," and he's like, "If I that's a bad idea. Don't send me after her."
Okay.
Because Khonshu's going to tell me to kill her, which is exactly what happens. Khonshu's like, well, she can't exist. And he's like, that doesn't seem cool. She's innocent in all of this. It was not her fault that like she was created.
Like, I don't care. I'm an asshole bird monster.
Yeah, come on. I'm a bird skeleton man. Just kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
Yes. My friends.
Quite here. Fist of Khonshu can't bring himself to do it.
God, that's nice.
And Khonshu's like, dude.
Well, I picked you. I gave you extra power so that you would like do what I want.
Me. That's not cool. And we leave this like moment where Fist of Khonshu essentially breaks it down that he's like, you have a granddaughter. Isn't that kind of cool? You're never going to have one of those.
Right.
What do you think about that, Khonshu?
Yeah. You can make her Moon Knight.
Yeah. So
is she Moon Knight from the Hickman book? Remember that blood, whatever the hell?
I don't know. Oh, maybe.
She's young in that book and it's like in space or something. Never mind.
So
what do you think? Was it good?
It was pretty good.
All right.
It was pretty good.
40 big pages from Moon Knight Annual #1.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I guess I should call him Hunter's Moon. I always think of him more as the Fist of Khonshu.
Yeah.
Because he acts more like it.
Uh-huh.
So before y'all at me, give me a break, guys.
Yeah.
It's just that he acts like it.
Right.
There's Moon Knight. And then there's the guy who's actually going to
to do the thing, do the Moon Knight shit.
Who refers to Khonshu as his father. I think of him as like the real role.
Yeah.
He's like the real deal. Moon Knight's like Moon Knight's the guy we're like rooting for because
he's not a complete asshole.
Yeah.
That's it.
Moon Knight also mentions, he's like, I guess the reason I could have kids is because Contra messed up. He made me wrong.
Right.
So
he probably didn't make you at all, man. Well, we should read some super chats.
Yes.
I think that are the sponsors of today's show. So Tiffany,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to read them because you know you can see the screen better than me.
Oh, okay. Dan V 900 saying, "Oh,
Brian
sorry,
Rollins.
I already failed."
It's on the screen.
So you can see it.
Happy Halloween! All those new videos have been great. Thanks a lot, Brian. You'll take the next one.
Okay, fine. Brian Rollins says, "No, I'm kidding." Dan V 900 says, "So damn, all by Cy Spurrier and Charlie Allard. It's just a repurposed Hellraiser." Continuation from Spurrier, right? I disagree. The clothing for Bloody Ellie is insanely close to Constantine. DC is going to sue or not. Continuing to say, I started reading Catwoman Lonely City #4 and can't remember much other than the start of Riddler relationship in 3. The last issue was really 6 months ago. Then 4 months before that. It took too long. No, of course. But okay, so let's address this. Let me break this down for you. First of all, did I have vibes of Constantine? I already covered that. And here's why. Because I don't think Cy was done with that book. Now, I don't think that he took something like some random script he had and like spun it off. Because if anything, I wouldn't say Ellie was like Constantine. I would say her uncle Alfie was like Constantine, right? Who dies at the beginning of this book. And I don't think that Cy would have had any ideas to kill off John in his run.
Right.
So if you're getting any vibes from that, it's just because a guy who wrote Constantine and has a very distinct writing style is now writing a book about magic set in England.
Yeah, it's more like he's probably just hasn't had the world out of his system yet.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of the other part of that about what was the other half of it?
Oh,
Catwoman Lonely City.
Yes.
He's a one-man band.
That right.
Yeah, he's doing the writing, the art, all of it. So
yeah,
you know, give him a break. I haven't read it yet because I'm not going to read it off the heels of not having reread the past issues. So
no.
Lee Allen says, Tiffany, I wanted to let you know I read Witches for Halloween. Thank you for your praises of that book. I loved it. You never steered me wrong. Well, thank you so much. It's so much pressure. But I appreciate it very much. And I'm glad you enjoyed Witches. It's a great Halloween read. It's a great any time of the year read, but it is definitely a good Halloween read. Lee Allen also going on to say, oh, and happy Halloween to all at ComicPop Jack-O-Lantern.
Thank you very much, Lee. I will extend your happy Halloweens to the rest of the team, whom I have not spoken to in almost 4 days.
Josh Wollabow saying full bars. That's right. We're a full candy bar house.
That's right. Yeah, we ain't fucking around when it comes to Halloween.
No, we get like few kids, so it's easy for us to do. And then Josh went on to say, I work from home, but I'll have breakfast with you. Hey, listen, you still have a commute.
That's right. Yeah, from your bed to the desk.
Just a little shorter.
Yeah.
Static Nova saying, happy Halloween. So thankful for you guys. Well,
thankful for you.
Thankful
Thank you,
for you too.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
Zoinks saying, for folks internationally, it says good night with ComicPop. Honestly, love the idea of wake up. Really cool stuff. Keep it up. Actually, and hey, listen, here's the thing. You can listen to it whenever you want. So whenever it is time for your commute, throw it on.
Yeah, I think so.
Tony T Ravioli saying, how do you guys feel about Ram versus Tech?
Ram V's Detective Comics run so far.
Wow, I read that as something totally different. It's a bit slow right now, but I'm loving the atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I'll talk about it right now.
Ooh, I love a good lead-in.
Detective Comics number 1065 from Ram V and Cy Spurrier and Raphael Albuquerque. Cy Spurrier is doing the backups, which are like basically Jim Gordon centric.
I thought that was over.
Yeah, there's still more. But yeah, it's more. Okay, so this is not like Ram V is trying something and he knows he can get away with it. I mean, look at these covers and how every time this book comes out, I'm like, look at these covers. It's like what I talk about the most when it comes to this.
Right.
And by the way, I kind of dig the titling. I think it's like, I don't think that this Detective Comics logo would work on every cover scheme, but this cover scheme works perfectly. I hope it extends all the way until Ram V's off the book. But that being said, this is not like an episodic kind of book. This is not like, each issue, it's its own self-contained story. This is one story that's just going for the run they have. Ram V is really like trying something that I think they believe in. And it's, Batman fights these these invaders, these foreign invaders. And it's funny because they're people of color from like the Middle East and like they're coming in. So it's like, it's a little bit of a reverse, they're coming into America and they're and they're taking over Gotham City via like old deeds and an original promised land that they own. And what the big reveal at the end of this is they own Arkham. So this new like cult esque worshipping crazy group of like these new upstarts. They own Arkham, and so they're coming in and they're like, we're taking it and we're gonna repurpose it because it's not just like a place that has like significant land value. It's a place of spiritual connectivity, and we're going to use that
to put a Starbucks.
No, it's not the Sanctum Sanctorum. No, they're gonna like it's tying in with like Living Hell and like the games and stuff. Like no, like it's about these like these enemies of the Al Ghuls who are also spiritually aligned, who are now like finally cashing in their chips as far as owning and controlling Gotham to usher in like some kind of new demonic entity. And Batman is plagued by this like being one step behind these people. And there's a great battle between him and what actually turns out to be Ubu, I believe, but in the harbor. And right before he has to free himself, and he's like, "There's nothing I can do. I got to use my electrodes, which are going to zap me. I'm just going to have to hope I have a harder constitution than him." And he ends up like zapping both of them, and he's just like, just kick like your legs once, and you'll get air. And Barbatos, but is it Barbatos or not? But Barbatos like reaches up and takes him, and he's like, "No, like you're not ready." Like, and it's just this warring clash of like demonic spirits and whether they're even real or not. All
right, I gotta read
this. You will fall for this book.
I've not been reading it at all because honestly I didn't believe it would go that supernatural. I thought he would like start with that because that's what he's known for, and then would like transition into what more people are used to seeing from Batman books. Because occasionally Batman just goes right over into the supernatural side, which I always treasure.
That's Batman versus Robin right now.
Because Bruce hates it seemingly, and I love that type of reaction where like he's like, I have to deal with this. Sometimes
he's not doing anything
things
spiritual.
Get spooky.
Like he has no preparation for it. He's just showing up and punching people. But that's actually a great marriage of what Ram V's done with Justice League Dark and what they clearly want to do with the DC universe, or at the very least with their stories.
Right. It just strikes me, tying it so much into that supernatural side of things makes me, especially with the cover scheme, think of Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is like a long, like Legends of the Dark Knight were like 3 to 6 issue stories, 5 issues really.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be as long as he wants to write it, and then it'll be done, and we won't have, and then he'll be out. It is a Legends of the Dark Knight run.
Okay.
But set now and setting up and using continuity. Like Jim ain't commissioner. Jim and Harvey have a private detective firm now.
Bullock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Bullock and Gordon. It's Gordon and Bullock, like private detectives. And I'm like, no, put everything back. And I think there's a great opportunity here. There's several opportunities.
No, Jim can go back, and then we'll just do what we pitched. It's just Bullock and Blood.
Bullock and Blood. Bullock's like, well, what now? Who am I going to work with? Bullock's like, haha, Tom King heard your pitch, and I'm in. But yeah, I love this series. I think it's great. It's just something I'd never would have asked for, and it's something that like I wouldn't have expected. Well done.
Yeah. Okay.
Gilmo Salaz says, "Happy Halloween. I love the Junji Ito GBU episode. The Long Dream Story is so good."
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. And if you'd missed it, by the way, if you're like, nah, I didn't really understand what the hell was going on in front of me, we dropped an episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it was manga themed. So, hey, all you manga fans out there, not doing great compared to like a Spider-Man episode. So you want to see more manga on the damn channel, this is the one. But it honestly actually did quite well. Like it's all within the actually it has higher retention than most episodes.
I did hear a lot of people actually didn't get notification.
Yeah, that doesn't
about that episode in particular.
Classic YouTube.
Dang.
Twitter's going to the toilet. Instagram sucks. TikTok's garbage, and now YouTube is also shitting the bed. What are we gonna do?
I don't know. We're just happy you guys
just
are
live
here.
shows. We're gonna get a van and just go to colleges.
You guys are here.
But yeah,
we're not getting a van.
No, we're not. It's your boy Phoenix says mix them together and call him Sebastian Claw.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it.
Cat Lawyer will defend for treats. I missed out on streams, but how's Gotham Knight?
It's what? Like it's fine. I'm not far enough in. I haven't even gotten to the Court of Owls stuff yet.
No.
I'm not far enough in to know if it warrants a $70 price tag, but it's definitely not as bad as Avengers, which that one hurt when I was playing it to know how much I had spent on that.
Yeah, that sucks. Algie Try, ComicPop, hell yeah. Thank you very much, Algie, for your support and for the surprise, for the support.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Ray Farr, ComicPop Woo, spooky Tiff.
Heck yeah.
And he also says, Sal, put your Ernie Hudson costume is scary good, spooky. Thank you very much. Right, that's what he wears when he goes places. He also mentions, I absolutely love the last back issues, and I had no idea that book was written by Dan Slott. That dude gets around. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
He used to get around.
That was a much younger Dan Slott, but it's like, I could imagine some folk, because it's like, once you've had enough of a writer, if you're not a fan of them, like, you're unwilling to try it. I completely get that, because A, that's your hard-earned dollars, and B, that's a time sink too, but trust me, that book's worth it.
Yeah.
That book is worth it.
Raj Patel, Happy Halloween. Human Target, as usual, is phenomenal. Chance lost today, which is huge. I really don't know what to expect. Ramvi is also good.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. We went away, so I didn't get a chance to read a lot of things but I with Human Target, I like to take my time when I read it, so I will be enjoying it soon, probably tonight. And Hogshead says, did you listen to Act 3 of Sandman?
Not yet.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the live experience.
You did indeed. Dante Cook just finished Riddler year 1 just now, and what a perfect Halloween read. So real, especially the beginning 2 pages. I've been there for so many times. The art also helped to turn up the spooky volume.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I don't believe in just giving actors like jobs that other people should be getting, because they aren't done playing with the character that they played. I just think that's repugnant. But good for him for being a good writer and for making a story that a lot of people really enjoyed and resonated with them. I'm not that I'm not reading it out of spite. It's more like I didn't rush to read it. I wasn't like, oh my God, right. I got to see what Paul Dano has to say about the Riddler. I saw what Paul Dano has to say about the Riddler.
That's fair.
I also read another Riddler self-contained original story one bad day. So it's and then another one, and I'm how many of these Riddler books are we going to do? But I'm glad people are enjoying it. And Will D. Gall says, I never know. I wanted a Harvey Jim PI series until Sal said something. Originally, we pitched this on the Arkham Living Hell episode, where we were like, ooh, Jason Blood and Harvey Bullock teaming up, doing hard-boiled, detective, gritty, horror, supernatural mysteries.
But I would also take a Harvey Jim one. That would be interesting. It would like a mini.
That's the only way to be able to sell them.
3 issues, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Matthew Mosley, my 2 favorite parasocial friends. Happy Halloween. Love the hair, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Radical Radish. Tiffany, please let's not
He can get the van. I'm not going to the van.
No, just not getting in the van.
I'm not getting in the van. He can have a van.
What did you read? What else did you
Let's head over to Marvel for a minute, because we all know I read Marvel books this week. Not the one we're going to talk about eventually, but we already talked about Moon Knight, so we're already there. I just want to mention Strange Academy came back this week. Strange Academy finals. Finals. I want to call it final class, but finals. Number 1 came out this week by Scotty Young with art by Humberto Ramos. So if you're on the Strange Academy bandwagon,
which you should be by now, because Tiffany's only sung its praises and it doesn't let you down so far.
No, so it's back. It's the same team. It's continuing the story. It's getting progressive. We're the story's growing with the characters. Oh, and look, Marvel did their classic thing where they ended the series but then restarted the series, but it's just the same series but with a new number 1. Yeah. Who will ever know if a 40th issue of Strange Academy would ever sell? Because we'll never find out. Marvel will never let us do that. But I do appreciate, though, that this is, becoming more mature as the story is growing. It's being allowed to grow and change over time. So if you wanted to see more about the story of the kids from Strange Academy, about that prophecy, that vision, go check this out for sure. This is not at all tying into what's going on with Midnight Suns. No. Because Zoe is in both those books. You just disregard Midnight Suns. It's an imaginary tale. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just weird because in that one there is a prophetic vision, and in this one there was a prophetic vision. Stick with this one. I feel like I hate to naysay on a magical book, but I say if you had to pick one, go Strange Academy, especially if you already have the history of it. If you haven't been reading this, I don't know if this is necessarily the best jumping on point. It could be. It's a number 1. It might be able to give you enough information. The only thing I think you're going to miss is a little bit of the connection with the characters. So maybe you could jump on. Maybe you'll see if you like this writing style, and then you could go back and get that fill-in info. but it's a worthwhile journey. They're great characters, and I like the world that has been built here.
Nice.
Additionally, I also picked up Strange. Number
That's
7.
right. Continuing the not Doctor Strange book.
Yeah, written by Jed McKay, with art by Marcelo Ferreira.
Mm-hmm.
No idea if I'm saying that correctly.
I like this cover. I've liked all the covers of Strange.
Pretty dope. I realized in this issue that I think McKay's take on this is definitely like, I remember Doctor Strange, old school, villains, like rekindling the Clea and like Stephen like relationship to some degree, and also like let's pull in a little bit of like a Doom Patrol vibe.
Okay.
And I say that only because the like villains of this have like a hint, a seasoning of it. I don't want to say it's like, oh my gosh, it's so much like that, but there's just a little something there, little taste, I don't know what it is, honestly. Maybe it's the fact that one of the agents is called like Nobody 86, and the main villain looks like he's a white void. It could be that.
That sounds very eerily familiar.
But this was good. I will say the first half of this issue is just Clea Strange talking about how amazing Steve is and why they worked so well. And during a fight, it just seemed like they wanted to draw a big fight, and they felt like they needed to have words that were accompanying.
Well, especially
imagery.
Given that like we haven't seen Clea and Steve together in decades.
Yeah.
And then to kill him off and be like, I wanted Clea.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Wade put her back in eventually. Like I think that was who reestablished Clea at any point.
It wasn't Wade. I think it was. I thought
was it Kate's?
I don't remember which one. It was during an annual.
Hopeless Kate's Wade.
But there was an annual.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
an annual that did
maybe it was by McKay.
Maybe not. All I know is she showed up, and now she's like.
And now she's back to being as important as she was 25 to 30 years ago.
Yeah. But like it's just her passion for him, and the fact that she goes to touch him. He's like, oh, you can't touch me.
Oh, that's right, because of the Harvestman, right?
Because like she's like the Sorcerer Supreme, so her magic is that of life, and he is that of the Harvestman, the magic of death. And if we were to touch,
is he even doing the job, or is he just like surprised? Is he?
He's got he made a deal with death,
right?
And she said like, listen, if you do this thing, because I'm being insulted because these revenants, I think they're revenants. I'm only questioning that because I literally talked about
a revenant.
We have a revenant statue from Doom over there, and I mentioned it today. So I'm like, is it that? I don't know. But that they're insulting to her because they're these amalgams of spirits, and like that shouldn't be. So if you take care of all of them, I'll like let you go, recreate you in the real world. And he didn't want to bring this up.
I thought she loved him and had such passion for him. Why does she want to why is she making deals with him?
Who, Death?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Death. I thought you were talking about Clea.
Death. No, she.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, all right. I'd take that deal.
Yeah.
Damn good deal.
And so I will say McKay kind of forces a little bit of additional drama here, which I don't really think is necessary, because Steve's like, you literally watched me die like 2 or 3 times recently. And I didn't think it was fair to mention this to you because I don't know how doable this is. And she like has a meltdown over it where she's just like, how dare you? Like, I'm like Sorcerer Supreme of 2 places and, Warlord of Manhattan. And like, you think I couldn't take this? And he's like, okay. And I get it. We're establishing that she's amazing and awesome and kick ass. I just didn't. I already knew that.
Right.
I definitely already knew that.
We don't need to reestablish it.
But that's kind of a nitpick on my end. It was a good story. I like seeing them working together. Clearly, they're going to continue to work together. He's not like going like, I'll be back.
And there'll be a mini series by Nobody that is called Strange the Harvestman.
So they're going to deal with this. They're also going to deal with, what wand, that sword.
Yeah.
Not allegory. What's the word when it's like counterpart to the mystical side of things. What they became, they're going to deal with them as well. So we got a couple of different fronts we're going to be attacking things by, but the key is if they can complete this mission, he can come back.
Okay. And I bet he won't. But
so at least we kept it up with a promise. The fact was Clea was going to figure out a way to bring him back, and now we have a way to do it. So let's make that happen. Yeah, if we can,
like Death will do it.
If we can complete this quest, supposedly the deal is done.
Sure.
Listen, deals are important in the underworld.
That's true.
It
depends on which version of Death we're dealing with.
Whether it be taking a marriage or playing a golden fiddle, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but is she the same Death that made out with Deadpool, or is she Thanos' Death? We
haven't seen it.
Oh,
she's just been mentioned, and he said she. So
Well, they better, because it is Mistress Death. But all right. So, do you recommend it?
I mean, I've been I don't recommend this as a starting point. Obviously, it's issue 7. This is not where you're going to be like, hey, I'm in, Steve, yay.
Okay.
It's going to be confusing. But I really like the last issue. I do like, seeing Clea and Steve together. I do sometimes I feel like this series has been a little decompressed. But we'll see. It could have all been for a reason. I don't know. I can't tell until we come to the end how much was like, dude, he really needs to do that.
I mean, more than likely no, but we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Memento Mori says, I'm going to be so sad when they #1 reset Moon Knight. I feel it coming. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, it is possible.
Ray Farr, this is to ensure that Wash and Ripley get treats this year, despite how many tricks they may play, and they may have pulled this year.
Well, yeah, actually, we had a little camera set up in the house when we left, just to so we could check in on them, because we missed them when we're away, and we definitely caught them being like roughhousing with each other, and we were like, we had no idea.
Yeah, so, we didn't know they did that.
Didn't know that, so. You can't, and there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
They don't have a memory of that.
Exactly. What else did you read?
I read, what is it?
It's Exterminators.
Exterminators #2. I said I was going to give another shot to this, and I'll be honest with you, I actually enjoyed this issue more than the first issue. So
Okay. Leah Williams, Carlos Gomez.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget vampires. That's the main antagonist of this book.
It's like Marvel saw the Summit meeting, like when they announced Phase 4 and said the Blade was coming, and they were on the exact same page as the rest of us, and just was like, well, it's all vampires! And then, didn't get the memo that they had to completely, scrap the movie and start all over, so we're not going to see a Blade movie until, 2027 or something.
Vampires!
And they're like, boy, we're going to have a lot of vampire stuff.
No, okay, so...
Old...
All right, hang on. So, Moon Knight dealing with vampires, I buy. This book dealing with vampires, I also buy, because, again, we're talking Grindhouse. I'm thinking Robert Rodriguez. There's a connection.
Yeah, from Dusk Till Dawn, sure.
There is a vampire connection here 100%, right? I have no issue with this. You also have Jubilee. Come on.
She was a vampire.
Hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So... Wolverine shows up in this, and she's pissed.
Oh no!
She's been there for a couple of days apparently, and they just they drug her with elephant tranquilizers. They'll make her fight, then knock her out again. It's just been this constant cycle.
Yep.
They bring her out to fight with the other girls. That's not going to happen.
Okay, I saw a panel from this in which somebody interpreted it as even the writers think that Laura shouldn't be Wolverine.
What?
That's right. It was just a gross misinterpretation of the interaction between Wolverine and
the costume?
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, you look awful."
Oh, no, I think it's just she doesn't like the design of the costume.
I know, which I'm like, how could you not?
Well, and all right, so Boom Boom is there. Boom Boom
dressed
is
like a roller derby person.
Dressed like she's dressed ridiculously. I think the point is that she's
dressed like Mojo dressed her.
Boom Boom doesn't have good fashion taste, and so she's critiquing Wolverine.
How dare they?
I think that's hilarious. That she looks at Wolverine in her full X-Men, costume, her Wolverine costume.
She's like, you look
and
terrible.
She's dressed like
a Harley Quinn cosplay.
Like she's going to a Halloween party. And she's like, I'm sexy. That's my costume.
Right.
And I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
For someone to take that and interpret that's called projection.
Yeah, especially since it's Leah Williams who wrote it. It's like, dude, you wrong.
Sorry, you don't know how to read the room. Anyway. So, what are we getting here? So Zaris shows up, the vampire who turned Jubilee into a vampire.
Great. We should kick him in the nuts.
Apparently his son was the vampire that started all of this, because he was the one that Dazzler was dating. She didn't know he was a vampire. He's pissed about the records. Listen, it is surface level shit, guys. It is is a Grindhouse book. That's what it's supposed to be. That's all it's supposed to be. Right. It's not promising anything more than that. you know, they are put into a ridiculous scenario in this, of course, where there's like magic is used, like fairy style magic, which Jubilee's like, I literally just spent a whole bunch of time in a world where like magic is real. Trust me, this is not going to work out for us necessarily.
No, I'm sick of it.
It's essentially a series of rooms made out of mirrors. If you look into the mirrors, an evil version of you shows up. I'm like, I dig it.
Okay,
that's yes, magic,
fine.
Sure. And they have to figure out how to, of course, fight them. Every time you look, though, another one shows up. So they've got to be blindfolded, essentially, to do it. So they are able to get out of it. It's also revealed in this that they're, like, in front of the Quiet Council. Regaling everyone. They're wearing, like, completely different outfits that look like possible Halloween costumes. So I don't know if this is supposed to be set around that time, or maybe something leads to this in the story.
All right.
They're not necessarily on trial, but they are not seemingly there of their own volition.
Yeah.
So... That's how we're.
That's another element.
That's how we're getting this story. That's where it's being couched. Is that like we're being told this? We didn't know about that previously. But hey, a whole bunch of other vampires are here, and they're gonna, you know, it's silly and it's like meant to be that.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with that at all. I mean,
well, the writer of Deadpool should make a silly, fun book, right? I think of Lee Williams. Was that Kelly Thompson?
It was Kelly Thompson. Yeah. I for me, I'm like, how is this any more ridiculous than some, not all of them, but some of the things that came out of the 90s?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not meant to be a game changer. It's not meant to like shake the world of like mutants or Marvel. It's just like five issues, like 5 issues of just like,
yeah. All right.
Just, you know, there's a little cheesecake in here occasionally. Like there's definitely like, you know, Dazzler's attacked by several. Like it's just silly. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know anybody's really.
I don't understand who can read, anyone who could read this and like try to like
look for some kind of hidden context.
Yeah, or like agenda in it. It's just very.
Radical Rad. It's the season of the vampire. Sal, bloodsuckers are all the rage. Once again, we got to live in their uncomfortably dressed world. That's true.
Bleh.
Like, bleh.
At the end of this, oh, trust me, no, you would hate these guys. You would see these guys, Sal. You would like.
Yeah, I'd be like, ugh, I'm gonna hit him in the balls with a big clove of garlic.
Look at these men, or these folk.
Yeah, I
they're
don't.
not all dudes.
No, yeah, they look like they're from Ex Machina or something, or Vox Machina, I should say.
Yeah, they look uncomfortable and overdressed and very full of themselves. I cannot wait for them to run into the girls.
Cool.
So I like this issue more.
Jordan Phil, happy Halloween! Thanks for the fun content. Thank you, Jordan, for supporting the show. What else we got before we lead up to Judgment Day?
I think that's it for me.
All right, then I read Amazing Spider-Man number 12 from Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. This is more Goblin, more Hobgoblin stuff, and I'm a sucker for Hobgoblin. Even though I was never really a big fan of the idea, like the mystery was cool, but even then, like I was more embroiled in the drama between characters. Like, I was like, oh man, what's gonna happen to Flash, or what's gonna happen to Ned, or what's gonna happen to Pete or Felicia for that matter.
Well, I didn't realize how much you were into Hobgoblin until the number of times we've talked about Hobgoblin.
Yeah, Hobgoblin comes up a lot. Well, it's because
yeah.
Hobgoblin has a storied history. We concocted an entire plan.
If
Marvel ever gives us a shot, we have a fucking event for you, and I guarantee you will buy it. Like, it is just an automatic sell. And I'd outsource this shit. I'd call a couple of writer friends that I have that work in the industry and be like, please write this. Just do it this way. And then they'd say, no, man, you got to write it yourself. And then we'd write it. And then you'd be like, oh, well, the dialogue sucks, but at least it's cool. It's a neat idea. And we get Stegman to draw it. It'd be really cool. But yeah, no. So, Spider-Man has to wear this stupid goblin outfit. Norman's been put in the hospital. He was attacked by the Hobgoblin. So Spider-Man tells Norman, because the idea is that Spider-Man's going to protect Norman. Norman told Spider-Man the wrong day that he was supposed to meet with Kingsley. And then they're attacked by a goblin. Both of them are attacked by a Hobgoblin. And so they're like, but we all thought that Roderick Kingsley was the Hobgoblin.
Right.
But they're both attacked by another Hobgoblin. So who is it?
Who could it be?
Who could it be? It could be any number of at least 3 people, maybe 4, if you bring back a demon. But but Ned Leeds was, who's resurrected and then re-resurrected, is back, and he's with Betty, and they have a kid now, and that was quick work. But he's wandering off. He's working on some big hullabaloo story. It's going to expose and destroy Norman Osborn, but Peter works for Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn got shot by a magical shotgun that took away his sins. We don't want to destroy Norman Osborn anymore. He's the only member of my supporting cast who talks to me anymore. Except for Aunt May, they made up at some point, but nobody cares because nobody wants to do anything with Aunt May anymore.
Right.
But So Spider-Man goes to fight the Hobgoblin. He does. It's a no holds barred fight in which Spider-Man shows more skill and power and capabilities than he did when he fought a 108-year-old man in a vulture costume not a few issues prior. Somehow he beat the Hobgoblin handily without any effort just because he has a goblin glider now, which he calls the Bug or something. Just whatever. Meanwhile, we're sowing the seeds of Cantwell's upcoming Golden Goblin book. So we're going to read that at some point. Because Norman Osborn's going to have to, they pulled me back in. So Spider-Man just unabashedly beats the living hell out of Hobgoblin, reveals it is Kingsley.
Ooh.
And Kingsley's like, what the hell, man? Of course you knew it was me. And he's like, yeah, but you got attacked by another Hobgoblin.
Yeah, well, who was that?
And he's like, what? I did? I don't remember that. And it's like, oh, you're having like amnesia spells like Norman did. But
boy.
Back in the day. And then Ned Leeds, seemingly another Hobgoblin shows up. And so now there's two Hobgoblins and they're teaming up and they're going to fight Spider-Man. And so, it's two goblins for the price of one. Maybe three. We'll see.
Oh.
I'm hoping that it isn't Ned Leeds because I'm like, Ned Leeds wasn't really Hobgoblin. Like, Ned Leeds was Hobgoblin for like 25 years. And then they were like, it's actually Roger Kingsley. And we were all like, oh, okay. And they did such an expert retconning of it. It's like, don't bring back Ned Leeds just to make him a Hobgoblin. You're going to confuse people because like Ned Leeds was just retconned to being Hobgoblin in the first place.
Right.
Fine. Then Ned Leeds is Hobgoblin. But then they're like, actually, Ned Leeds was never Hobgoblin. It was Kingsley. And you're like, oh, okay. What about when they revealed that he was Hobgoblin? That was brainwashing and he only pretended to be a Hobgoblin. Oh, okay, fine. So now we got it.
But
Roger Kingsley, he wasn't really Hobgoblin. He wasn't doing all the Hobgoblin-y things. He was just a red herring to take the smoke off of, or the heat off of Roderick. Fine. So Kingsley was Hobgoblin, and then Macendale took over, and Ned Leeds was an interim goblin that was used as a smokescreen to distract people from Kingsley. Fine. All right, I've got it square. And then in 2022, they're like, actually, Ned Leeds is also Hobgoblin. And it's like, no. You don't confuse people. But it's already confusing, so whatever. I mean, we don't even talk about the Green Goblins and how, like, literally one of their therapists was a Green Goblin. Like, so anyway... It's fun. Like Spider-Man fights goblins. Who doesn't want to see Spider-Man fight a hobgoblin or two hobgoblins for that matter? I don't know what the hell happened to Macendale anymore. I know he died and then he came back and then he got a demo goblin. He separated it. Like, what is the deal with Macendale? So bring back Macendale and do something with him because who cares? Because who cares? The continuity's dead. Doesn't matter.
I bet there are at least two people out there who are huge Macendale fans.
I hope so because I like Macendale. He was Hobgoblin when I was alive. Like when I was alive, he was the Hobgoblin. I inherited Roger Kingsley. I don't know Roger Kingsley. Like, you know what I mean? Like I read those books when I was a kid, and those books had already been printed years ago.
Right.
Anyway, I do recommend it. I think it's fun. The only problem is there's a lot of decompression going on. Like this book, I think that the best way to save this series, besides all the behind the scenes kind of like subversive shit I talk about when it comes to Spider-Man, like make it like 3 pages longer and put it out monthly.
Yeah, okay.
Like this whole like, another issue. Like, chill it out. Like,
well, I guess it helps you to artificially boost numbers too.
It does
over the year.
Exactly.
We sold more Spider-Man because you had more of them.
Yeah, because you had more of them. So anyway,
I like that comment. Will this be on the test?
Yeah, no. The Goblin test. There's always a Goblin test. Dex Baker says, I'll have to catch the rewatch. I got trick-or-treaters showing up. Happy Halloween. Good to know. Yeah, we're here because in case there are any trick-or-treaters.
There haven't been yet, but we had some before, so yay.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Ray Farr, I feel like Sam and Twitch-esque miniseries featuring Bullock and Gordon or Bullock and Blood would sell like hotcakes. I don't think it would sell like hotcakes, but I would like to read it anyway.
I think it might sell.
I think depending on who's working on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Bendis is technically like on the line kind of a little bit. Bendis would do a pretty cool Bullock and Blood book.
Yeah, he would.
All right, because he used to write Sam and Twitch.
I think so, yeah.
So anyway, Judgment Day. You had an interesting point to make about Judgment Day. So let's get into it. Judgment Day ended.
Yeah, which I'm going to dance around what happens in it on purpose.
Okay.
Because I don't want to ruin it for you guys.
Yeah, you're not going to jump on issue 6.
You should have read this.
Yes, this is the biggest Marvel event nobody read.
That's not true. There was a whole thing called Monsters Unleashed. Nobody read that.
Nobody read Monsters Unleashed.
I really like that one, and you guys, and anyone who ended up reading because of our back issues, it was fun.
It was fun.
This is fun, but in like a different way. And honestly, at the end of the day,
Well, it's written by Kieran Gillen.
It's written by Kieran Gillen. Sorry, with art by Valerio Schiti and Ivan Fiorelli. I'll be honest, no offense to either of the artists. I did like the Schiti art a little bit better. That's just.
Well, it was more consistent. That was who was drawing.
But that's very much a subjective opinion.
Absolutely.
Well. Like
Absolutely.
I just like that art better. That's just my jam.
Fair.
This wraps up. Or here we go. We got a little bow on this.
I'm sure there's an Omega book. Yeah.
Yes, no, there is, and
that'll be the real wrap.
Legitimately cannot wait for that.
Does this end? Or does it go and then it's by the Omega issue, and then you'll get your real ending?
No.
Okay, good. So it is over. So you can read this.
That is very much that's Gillen though. This is a well-crafted issue. This has been a well-crafted series by Gillen.
Yeah.
And that's really at the end of the day. Here's what I'm hoping will happen. Y'all are gonna go and grab this at some point down the line and be like, holy crap, this was so good. Why didn't anyone do anything with this? Well, because no one read it when it was coming out.
So why would we pay it off in any way? Exactly. Why do I want to pay homage to that?
Exactly. But I don't even know. There's just so many great moments in this, and it really does wrap everything up, in my opinion. We deal with the progenitor. We deal with the fact that a lot of people we don't really deal with it. We acknowledge
the distrust.
Yes. Okay. So we acknowledge the distrust across the board. Characters die in this. Characters that presumably we're not going to see for a long time because the characters not a lot of people are going to care about. And I think that's okay. For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe one day someone's gonna be like, hey, remember that character? Let's bring them back. Let's find a way to bring that back.
Yeah.
I'm sure eventually we'll fix the World Machine. I'm sure we'll eventually fix the Eternals, because as of right now, I don't think there's spoilers to say that the Eternals are not eternal.
Yes.
Any longer, as far as my understanding is of it. There's also a change in Prime Eternal at the end of this. We establish a new foundation for mutant kind, which I love the idea of this. We also have, this one does admittedly shift one key component of Krakoan's society and Krakoa's creation. The idea that only mutants can come back.
Yeah.
No longer.
Oh. Does that mean that mutants can't come back, or that means that others can come back now?
Others can come back now. No, mutants can come back. And I honestly, that one I don't mind mentioning a little bit. I don't think that really ruins anything. I don't think so. But the Phoenix Foundation has been formed. And I really kind of dig that, because in X-Men, up to this point when they were dealing with the casino, Jean saved them, and we get mention of all the damage the Phoenix had done and how many worlds in theory had been fixed because of that. But the fact is, just because the writer said that, which I have no problem with that, or that people around Jean might have agreed with that, Jean didn't necessarily, I think, in her own heart feel that she had done enough reparations, and I think that's why she reacted so intensely to her judgment.
Right.
She was judged as a failure, and she got the big old thumbs down.
Yeah.
And really reacted to that. We see more of that in this.
And that was something you mentioned that was kind of the fallout of this series.
Yes. And so she forms the Phoenix Foundation, and the idea is that she's like, listen, we have to bring our people back first. The fact is,
listen, we fixed death, so we get to go home first. We get to skip the line,
right? But you need to understand, due to the mutant genocides, there's so many to bring back, and we need to do that first. However, essentially 5% of the Five's work will go to this. And who are they going to bring back? Essentially a lot of sick children, people who were forgotten, people who were poor.
Okay.
That's who are going to be brought back.
All right.
And I think that's her decision to do that. Sebastian Shaw is who can get mad at that? There, we fixed it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
But
I'm sure people will find a way. They get mad at everything.
I really don't know if that's going to be carried on, if anyone's going to pay attention to that, but I liked the idea of the Phoenix Foundation.
Yeah, it's a great
being
name.
Created. I thought that was very cool, and gives Jean something
to do.
Hopefully, could be taken in either direction. It could be something that really helps to redeem her, or it could be something that people are that's not enough. And it's eventually she needs to forgive herself.
Yeah, like Scarlet Witch. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully this will give her that road to do so. I overall really like the end of this. I can understand folk being I thought we were going to see blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. If you know Kieran Gillen as much as I know the man can write an action sequence, I knew at the end of the day this was never going to come down to a fight.
Right.
it was going to be something more to it. So
Yeah.
I was prepared for that. I get.
But you know, people, but we saw the omnibus for Ten of Swords in the half price bin, so we know that that's not exactly what most Marvel fans are looking for.
It's so true. It is. I'm okay with that. I like that type of ending. It is a sad ending overall, I would say, for everyone involved. While we do succeed because the world isn't ending. Hey, don't worry, Marvel fans.
They didn't end the world.
The world didn't end, so I'm not spoiling anything there. But I think if other writers wanted to, things could be drawn from this as inspiration for their characters going forward, and I don't know if it will be. And it's really okay either way. I enjoyed what we got, and I think Gillen did a really nice job with this crazy event that pulled together 3 factions of the Marvel Universe. 2 that we care about, people just in general, and mutants, and then the 3rd one that I think a lot of folks don't know a lot about. And I like to think that this gave them a little like doorway into their world. And if they want to read more, they can. And if not, it's like, cool, now I know a little bit about those guys.
That's true. That's true.
You know, and their contribution or their like place in the Marvel Universe.
But what about your claim?
What claim was that?
That claim was that Marvel's Axe Judgment Day is Marvel's crisis.
All right.
It's a crisis event for Marvel Comics.
It is and it isn't, because
how could you say something like that? Why would anyone make that the title of today's episode?
Well, because like, all right, so why would I say something like that? Because admittedly, I always say that a crisis feels like it's like something that like changes everything, right?
Enormous upheaval and continuity shift.
I feel like this is an emotional crisis.
So like a heroes in crisis kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah, almost sort of like that, but again, a more positive, well-written way.
More like an identity crisis, yeah.
In which you see, 3 bases of like 3, or at least 2 key pillars of
facets of the Marvel Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pillars, there's better term.
Pillars of Marvel Universe, and this other group that everyone always forgets about. Go like look at themselves through the eyes of this like
phony god,
like you want to call it a false god, but a flawed god, a flawed man-made, eternal-made, mutant-made god, like something that was created by us, then like looks at us to judge us and judge us poorly because we are flawed,
right? And
I think Gillen was really smart in the way that he crafted this. But you get to see characters like Tony Stark, who walks away from this feeling like they're great. Like, hey, I passed. I'm amazing.
I made a god, and he judged me worthy. Booyah.
But I also think that you could say Tony and go like quietly, I know that the part of the reason why it was flawed was because it was me.
Right.
And while it passed me, it only passed me because Cap does point that out at the end.
Because he made it.
He's like, it passed you because you made it.
Right.
And Cap is...
Because
Cap's in a weird place too.
Down.
Cap is very much in a weird place at the end of this book, and I like his quiet reflection.
Be a really cool book to continue with,
wouldn't it? The Eternals themselves are shaken to the core.
Sure.
Who they are. There's a big reveal to the rest of the Marvel Universe as to the secret of the Eternals, right? They have to now deal with that hatred. They are now where
the mutants normally are.
Where Eros is out there trying to do what Eros does, which is to be loved, and people are pelting him with garbage.
Yeah.
And so Nightcrawler's like, you'll get used to it. Trust me.
Fair.
Orcus gets to show how great they are and how heroic, so they get a little win in there, and that's not so great for everybody. Krakoa itself, I think we're going to see a potential divide there from mutants who, again, if they decide to go forward with this, much like with any crisis, have mutants who are like, we should not be allowing non-mutants to come back, and others who are going to be like, you know what, that was pretty stingy, selfish of us, and if we're supposed to be homo superior, we should be acting like it. I just feel like there was something there of this like break. There was all of this high energy, and I think Gillen just saw it. Like, he just saw all these like little connections, and he brought it together, and he had this bombastic event in which it's like, yes, we could punch this huge god, but that it changed some minds at the end of it. And that's why I equated it to like an emotional crisis.
Sure.
That it could have like lasting effect on the Marvel Universe in a way that people have been complaining doesn't exist. Yeah. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I don't know if anyone will pay attention to it in the bullpen or not.
Probably not. Yeah.
But we have, occasionally seen that with the other side as well,
right?
Where an event will happen, a crisis will happen, and no one pays attention to it.
Oh, like Dark Crisis.
But usually people think at Crisis in terms of like huge continuity shifts. And there was like, for me, the biggest shift, of course, was the Krakoan reveal.
Yeah.
That like, hey, humans can come back.
Right. And how do you do that? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, and how it's going to be hard, and they're walking that fine line.
Who's going to download all that? It's already hard enough to get all these Cerebros. Like
that's what. Jean,
so we're downloading everyone on the planet.
Jean admitted that. She's like, there are 8 billion people. We can't do that, and that's why we're going to start with like
this pocket,
like a pocket of people,
and maybe Avengers too. Like Emma's like, and Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man gets to come back anytime he dies.
Right?
And Spider-Man's like, but don't forget Aunt May.
Yeah. And they're like,
don't let her go.
They're like, no.
And maybe my marriage.
Yeah. It's all magic. We need to take a quick stopover. Go punch Mephisto.
I really like. I just liked a lot of the way Gillen wrote people in this. Even the people that he introduced. There was like those like 6
regular
to 8 people that he introduced, and at the end of it, to see their changes or not changes, and that's what I was struck by a lot. Sure. There's a couple of key moments for these individuals in this book where you get to see who they really are, and then, or you get to see them in, and I'm going to use the word crisis, but not in terms of like DC
capital
crisis.
C.
I'm going to use it as little c, humanity and all of Earth in crisis. In fact, the progenitor mentions that they're like, you're such a different people when you're faced with annihilation. Yeah. Like specifically they mentioned Orcus being like, if they had any other option, they would take it, but knowing that they don't, they step in and fight side by side.
Right.
And it's just like, and that's why you fail. Yeah. That's why you're flawed. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. That's what's so frustratingly beautiful about this book, is that this God is flawed, and it is judging us by standards that maybe we don't understand, or criteria that we don't understand.
Yeah. Or maybe it isn't fair to judge us by.
Right. But ultimately, maybe because I wouldn't like want us to end, I don't think any of us would, that he's not wrong all the time. Some of them I'm like, no, that's not right. You're looking at it differently, but who am I to judge? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I really liked this event a lot. I think there's a lot there, and I think it's as much as you'd like to see there. But be prepared. This doesn't end in a huge fight. There is not really a punching sequence. There is, however, Jean making a wonderful Psylocke reference for me, where she's like, she's had enough. And I kind of love this character moment for Jean in this issue. Jean has been judged in previous issues, and we get to see a little more of that in one of the tie-in issues. Up to you if you want to see that or not. But Jean is influenced for me by Cyclops and Wolverine in this, even though they're not present. She's clearly, the years, or even now with Krakoa, with the potential of living together, there is influence on her, on her leadership style, on her reaction to everything in this. So she's not taking things well, and as they're like getting to the progenitor, she's like, we got to move fast. Clearly, like, Cap's got to do what Cap's got to do in order to like extend this. Nightcrawler's working hard to make sure the progenitor doesn't look here while whatever. But her plan is like, we got to burn this thing to the ground. But then we just got to destroy this thing. And they're like, she's not taking it well.
Yeah.
But she ends up, she's like, I have to, this is a good Psylocke trick. I'm going to focus the totality of my psychic abilities.
Oh, cool.
And so she does it. And what does she do? It's not a single blade.
It's side blade.
It's 3 side things sticking out of her hands. I was like,
that's kind of awesome.
I love that. She's like, well, if I think of one person who's really good at killing people
and stabbing them,
that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I love that.
But like, she gets like the Wolverine look going. It's just barely there. We really don't pay attention to it. It's just a little moment. But like, some of her reaction is what people accuse Cyclops of being in the past, where he's just like, it's just making decisions. Here we go. We have to do it. I don't care the ramifications. Let's do it. And I'm like, that's his influence. And I love it. It's very quiet.
Right.
It's not pointed out. It's not like,
it's understated.
It's not hitting you in the head. It's just there. And I was like, this is just, it's really well done. And it may or may not end up, giving you something to think about. And some people want an escape from that. And so maybe this isn't the event for you. I completely understand that. Like, some people want to read comics or watch movies and just want to get away.
Yes.
You just want, and I there's no judgment here for that.
Yeah.
But this, I feel like this event could make you think about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I've
that's
mentioned
why
this
it's
before.
there.
I don't know if I would have passed judgment. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
it's a little scary. There's also a couple of like little dangling
threads
that
you can pay off.
that
Maybe
are-
Omega will do that.
They're left behind. There is something that is gifted because the Eternals have to apologize publicly to the mutants and Arakko, and something is gifted to Storm that I'm like, if someone remembers that down the line, or maybe they already have plans for it, I can't wait to see how it's used. I was like, oh, that's a smoking gun and a half,
cool.
or a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I will. I'll read that.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, this was a 10 out of 10. Like 100%. I loved every moment of it. I loved all the tie-ins that Gillen wrote. I think I read almost every single tie-in to this just because I wanted to stay in the know. It's a high recommend for me, but like I said, if you're looking for something that's going to end in a big bombastic fight, that's not where you're going with this. I do think there's value to this book. I do think that I get if you have event fatigue, maybe not right now.
Right.
Maybe wait till it's, collected in trade. It's all done. So you could go grab it off the shelf then and just know like, hey, here's the story. And you'll be able to see whether or not at that point anything has changed. I don't think much is going to change except for in the world of Krakoa. Obviously, they're going to have to deal with the ramifications of death being or like resurrection being available to others. Yeah. And a couple of other things.
Well, there you go.
So I don't know what else to tell you. I loved it. I loved it. I'm sorry. Unabashedly, I loved this
and don't
series.
Be sorry.
And I'm sad that it's over.
Yeah.
And I literally waited till today to read it because I knew that was it.
Right.
Except the Omega issue.
Yes, which is coming.
But I'm just, I think Gillen did a great job.
Yeah.
And I think he's great.
Kettler will defend retreats. Progenitor is the most relatable villain, in my opinion. I too wake up every day in a judgy mood, but seriously, Gillen is a wordsmith. Every sentence is profound. It is. It makes you feel, I don't know, smarter for reading it, but also like, wow. What a smarter guy. I've never thought about the Marvel Universe in this lens. Yeah. Not that the Marvel Universe hasn't been looked through the lens of, different styles of writers or through a super thoughtful manner, because it has 100%. There have been plenty of writers that did it, but this is just through a different person's perspective, and I really enjoyed it. Steampunk says, Judgment Day is my first big Marvel event, and it'll probably remain my favorite until another event, or I finally read Secret Wars. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I think it's a pretty fun event to be a part of, because it was so cohesive. Yes. That, I think, is a key. So if you were worried about that, listen, you're dealing with Eternals, so for a lot of people, listen, you're all in the same boat, because not a lot of folk are into Eternals. So you were going into it being like, I don't know anything about it. But I think Gillen took your hand, and hopefully you felt comfortable there. Mm-hmm. But it felt like really cohesive. Yeah. It's your boy Phoenix. After reading Neil Gaiman's Eternals because of the back issues episode, thanks Tiffany, hey. They've become my favorite superhero teams in comics. Too bad Marvel Studios made my favorite Eternal a villain in the movie. Fair. No, that is absolutely fair. That I'm not a fan of that myself. But yeah, what I like about the Eternals is that they're supposed to be so above us, but they're so messed up and flawed. Yeah. Valiant Shadow Productions, Emma being the secret #1 Spider-Man fan, is one of my favorite things in modern continuity, right? Yeah. It's not really paid off too much, but I really like that idea. Well, what I like about it is, especially now with it being such a modern development, is the fact that Emma's in a weird place, especially post Judgment Day. Yeah. She didn't pass. Right. And Emma's been in a weird spot where these people who came to her to give her a second chance then turned out to have a little bit more secrets than she anticipated. Yeah. And so now she's trying to be this moral compass, but I think she knows she's not. Right. And I really like that development for her, and I hope it's not dropped. Yeah, it's funny that Emma is sexually attracted to Captain America and secretly boosts Spider-Man. She's attracted to the most moral people. Yeah, because she herself isn't, and she's often surrounded by those who are not. Who are willing to. It's how girls like the bad boys. Mm-hmm. Emma's I like the good guys. I like the good guys because they'd never pick me. Because I can't have them. Yeah. I'm like, oh. Let's recommend some comics that come out this week that we think that you should check out. Yeah. I'm going to check out Quick Stops #1 from Kevin Smith and Jeremy Simser. This is a anthology series that I recommended in Wake Up with Comic Pop. Yeah. Knights of Steel, Dark Knights of Steel, that is, from Tom Taylor and Yasmin Putri, is coming out again. Finally, nice. #8. Savage Avengers number 7, David Pepos and Carlos Magno. We're going to see Punisher 2099 is going to be on the team replacing Conan. That'll be fun to see.
Sorry, Conan.
Gotham City Year 1, number 2 from Tom King and Phil Hester. I didn't read issue 1, but I'm going to read reading issues 1 and 2 concurrently to see how this continues.
Oh, Phil Hester's doing the art?
Yes.
Oh.
I know. Predator number 4 from Ed Brisson and Kev Walker. I was not thrilled. I didn't not like it. I liked it more than the Alien book, but I wasn't sure about it. But I read the first, and I think I reviewed number 3, and I said the same thing. So I'm going to be reading number 4 because I enjoy the series. It's nothing like a Predator story, but it does play in that universe, and that it's a fun read, and it's got some cool art. Punisher number 7, Jason Aaron and Paul Azekta. I can't wait for more Punisher. This Jason Aaron series is friggin' dope. If you haven't read Punisher, do yourself a favor and read Punisher 1 through 6. She-Hulk's back from Rainbow Rowell and Luca Maresca. I enjoy this series, but I admittedly fell off after a while, so I got to reread the last 3 issues. But I enjoyed it, so it's out, and it reminded me that I got to pick it up. Batman 129, Chip Zdarsky, and this time Leonardo Romero is doing the art. No, it looks like Jorge Jimenez is doing the art as well. So it looks like maybe it's a backup.
Yeah, Jimenez.
There you go. So Jimenez is doing the art. This series is so great. I can't wait to see more. Failsafe, Batman, Justice League. This is a good book. Best Batman's been in a long time. You should read it. Donny Cates is back on Hulk. Hulk number 10 reminds me that I should go back and reread from, I think, issue 8. So it's 8, 9, 10. It's not much to catch up on. Ryan Otley's doing the pencils again. Banner War is over. I didn't even read the damn thing, but I will be reading this. Batman the Joker Deadly Duo number 1 is from Mark Silvestri.
What? Yeah,
Mark Silvestri is returning to DC Comics, doing a Batman book in which Batman and Joker have to team up. It sounds a lot like Batman Europa, but Batman and Joker are on the same side. And Mark Silvestri is writing and drawing it.
Creator of The Darkness?
That's right. The Darkness himself.
And Witchblade?
He was involved in Witchblade.
He drew Witchblade.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see what the hell this is. If only because all I could hear about from people was like, Mark Silvestri's doing Batman again. And I'm like, well, the cover doesn't look great, so we'll see how it goes. Night of the Ghoul is getting its 2nd issue in print from Scott Snyder and Francesco Francavilla. This is a great book. It's from the Best Jacket Press slew of Scotttober comics. If you're feeling spookiness, you should be reading Night of the Ghoul.
Residual spookiness.
Residual, an echo of spookiness.
I listen, all year long.
But yeah, it's a good series, and it's a lot of fun.
I picked up the first issue for $1.
You did. It was $1 in the buck bin.
In the buck bin.
It makes me feel like an idiot because I bought it full price.
Sometimes I think they don't realize what's in there.
No, they don't. They're just like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they over-ordered Night of the Ghoul.
Right. So, here's my problem, guys. Now I'm going to be just jonesing for more Kieran Gillen, but that's okay because X-Men Red number 8 is coming out, written by Al Ewing, with art this time by Madabik Musabekov. I'm so bad at saying names. I just am. I'm probably going to try to catch up on Poison Ivy. We'll see if I've got time to do that because Poison Ivy number 6 is coming out this week. I'm doing it, guys. I'm going to check out the new Deadpool, written by Alyssa Wong, with art by
Martin Coccolo.
Yeah, well, yes, you're right.
And I know this artist, not personally, but I like their work. I've said Coccolo a couple of times.
I feel like you have.
Yeah.
But I'm going to check it out. Why not? It's a new number 1. I have got no more Judgment Day. Except for the Omega issue, which isn't coming out this week anyway. Boo. So at least I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I didn't see it.
I haven't been reading this book, but I will give a shout out to it just because I've met him in person this week. But Monkey Prince number 8 is coming out this week, written by Jean Lewin Young, who I met at Baltimore Comic-Con and was the nicest person.
Yeah, it was very lovely.
Just such a nice person. I was like, damn, I feel like I should go back and reread this book. But I had Shang-Chi with me, and I was like, dude, you're consistent AF, and I freaking absolutely love this book so much. I'm trying to see if there's any without Judgment Day tie-ins. I'm like,
what else am I gonna read?
Yeah,
you should read the old stuff. You should catch back up.
And I really do need to catch back up on so many things at this point. I feel like I'm just so absolutely, in a bad way. So there's a couple of indie books I might check out this week, but I definitely didn't get a chance to read a couple of X titles this week. So couple of new teams, so maybe I'll check those out and then report back on those.
Yeah, I also didn't read a lot of stuff like Human Target and Vanish #2 and stuff like that. Thunderbolts #3. So I'm going to catch up on those. I don't know if Riddler as well. I don't know if they're going to be in the next episode, but certainly we will be catching up on those as we go.
Yeah.
We want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We're very lucky to have you. Thank you to our super chatters for sponsoring today's show. And we hope you check out Wake Up with Comic Pop tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully on Thursday, we'll see how consistently we can get that schedule going. But if you all are interested in listening to it on audio format, you should check it out on Spotify. But if you can, give it a good rating. And if not, always check it out on here at youtube.com/ComicPop Returns. Watch Tiffany play video games at twitch.tv/ComicPop and uploads on the YouTube channel ComicPop Plays. And we want to thank you all for hanging out with us. And we'll see you guys next time with an all new episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody.
Happy Halloween.